In July 1971, Henry Kissinger, the then National Security Advisor of the Nixon government, secretly visited China. It was seen as a major diplomatic coup, and after 2 decades of frosty relations, USA finally managed to strike an understanding with China. With this move, the United States was able to draw a wedge between China and Soviet Union. The US had hoped to use China as a counterbalance to the Soviet Union, the biggest rival of United States at the time. Following Kissinger's visit, an American table tennis team visited China, which was later termed as Ping-Pong diplomacy. The colossal success of this policy also left a lasting impact on future US policies. However, the US learned a big lesson. In trying to contain the Soviet Union, US had indirectly helped in the rise of China. And in the last 2 decades, China emerged as the main challenger to US hegemony. Now, if defense expert and journalist Nitin Tiku is to be believed, the US is repeating the same strategy in Asia but with a twist. The US is now attempting to utilize India as a means to contain China, the same way it had used China to contain Russia or the Soviet Union. But US also has a plan to contain India so that it doesn't become too big so as to challenge USA in the future. So to ensure that India does not challenge USA in the future, the US is also using Pakistan to contain India and in turn using Afghanistan to contain Pakistan. In short, the US is ensuring that the entire region is on the edge by playing one side against the other. Not long ago, USA had sabotaged the Nord Stream pipeline that transports Russian gas to the Europe and had blamed it on Russia. But if you ask a simple question, who would benefit from sabotaging the pipeline? The answer is very clear. It is the United States and Ukraine. Why would Russia, which was earning money from the pipeline, sabotage its own revenue stream? But for a while, the USA did manage to convince everyone that Russia was behind the act and created a wedge between Europe and Russia. So, playing countries against each other is nothing new for the United States. Now, coming back to China, when China's GDP surpassed that of Japan in 2010 and its Belt and Road Initiative began to expand its influence, the US began to rebalance its resources to contain China. Trump 1.0 targeted China with tariffs and export controls, whereas Biden administration targeted China with tech bans and alliances. The US plan was to limit China's influence in the Pacific so that it is not able to portray its influence globally. The US changed the nomenclature from Asia Pacific to Indo Pacific to underscore that India has equal stakes in the region and that China cannot treat the Pacific as its backyard. After the Galwan clash of 2020, the US got an opportunity to drive a wedge between India and China even further. Now, similar tactics are being used to limit India's influence, be it hyphenating India with Pakistan or targeting Indian imports and the H-1B visas. Trump's recent actions suggest that he sees India more as a future challenger to US hegemony rather than a counterbalance to China. Clearly, the US is playing a dangerous game in Asia, trying to pit countries against each other and creating a volatile environment for the entire region. Now, it remains to be seen how long can US keep playing this game and will it actually benefit from this policy or the Asian countries can manage to come together and beat the US designs. If you liked the video, do share, subscribe to the channel and we will see you in the next video.